After having completed the extensions on the sandy beaches, the next thing I need to do are the gradients. There are actually two gradients that I need. For the water, I need the turquoise to blue fade. For the actual solid ground, I need the sand to grass fade. These are done pretty much like how I got the feathering effects on the clouds. However, there are some differences. What are the differences? Well, I'll walk you through the process, or at least the end of it anyway, because I've already done that for the water, and I'm almost done with that of the grass, if this is any clue. And one thing I want you to note, huge image size. This is actually triple of what it is. Okay, well if it's triple, then this doesn't make sense. It's more than triple. What's going on? The reason for that is I need tiling. Because of the triple image size and the fact I want to extend on 80, what I basically need is it starts right here. Now if you look right closely right in here, this is actually where that seam is. But I don't see any seam. Or that's actually the point where it actually transitions from one to another, but I sure don't see anything there. Same thing over here. I add 80 on both sides for the grass. It was 160 for the water, just for reference. So, and now I'm working on the grass, and which is basically the reason for that. So the grass just uses 80. It's actually the span that I need to cover plus some extra, and doubled on both sides. And for one thing I want you to note, yeah, there's golden ratio here. And for one, this is actually how you get the golden ratio, or the reciprocal of it. If you want just the golden ratio, all you got to do is take the square root of 5, divide by 2, and add half. And there you have it. So what's the significance of the golden ratio? Well, here's another interesting thing. Equals 1 divide that, and what do you know? That's the original number I got. I'm going to change this back to the way I had it, which is a minus. And now, of course, those two switch places. But guess what? Equals that minus this. Okay. Equals 1 minus this. Hey, it came out exactly. Okay, that's very interesting. Well, here's another interesting thing about the golden ratio. You know the sequence 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, etc., right? That's the Fibonacci sequence. Well, the ratio of the current number you're on to that of the previous happens to be the golden ratio. Very interesting in a way. However, instead of a linear gradient, it's this really long, complex formula. Yeah, that's the complexity that I need for that. Because that way it starts off fast, but slows down. Notice that the golden ratio is actually the exponent, or the reciprocal of it. But that aside, so how do I go about using this then? Well, first, I need to explain the process for going about making the gradients here. As you can tell, here's a 229. Here it's going really fast for the changes, but over here it's very slight. Here it's very fast. There's a huge contrast difference here, and it's very slow. Here you practically can't even see anything. But for one, what I do is I duplicate my base layer here, and then I go to Gaussian blur, and in this case, 3. By tripling the image size, I can drastically improve the accuracy of GIMP. And I just need to simply wait for this to do its thing. When it's done, select by color, hit the transparent area, invert, hide that because I no longer need it, and now I go to intersect with this, so that way I have this. But why do I need to intersect with it? Well, if I don't, this is what happens. Uh-oh, I just lost all that work I just did. But that's no big deal. Z that, and it's back to normal. That is why I must have the intersect. Because that way, let's see, I need the next row. Notice how I use this window here as a kind of a bookmark in a way. I need 2. Inputting on here is generally fast, if I can think of it fast. Sometimes I also use the arrows up here instead. So I just basically use whichever is faster. Now since I don't need that, I delete it, and duplicate, Control F to repeat the Gaussian blur effect. And I otherwise repeat the same process again. Invert. It actually goes by pretty fast. It's just very repetitive. And my next one is a 1. Let's see. Nope, there's no other 1s after it. Forgot to check that. So, in that case, that would have actually been slightly faster. And that's basically it. The last thing I need to do, however, is get black. And that otherwise completes that gradient. Save my progress, as usual. And from there, I need to do some fine-tuning. What exactly do I need to do? Well, you see this odd seam here? This looks kind of weird. So, I need to get rid of that. And I'm going to extend on this. I don't really know the difference between these as far as that goes, so I'll just let it go. Okay, you can kind of see that there. However, there's one problem. This was a 255. And just to show you, it's 255 now. Hide that. And it's now 254. The only way to fix that is to do this. Forgot to switch those two. But that's no big deal. But you can still kind of see the streaking here. It's not very bad though, at least, fortunately. But in a way it does kind of provide some randomization. And speaking of randomization, noise spread, I want to up this. Let's see. Because I want it to kind of resemble the clouds. So I'll just let this thing run its course. Okay, that's just one case of it, but I want to do a lot more. So, here's number 2. Here's number 3. I want it to actually look resembling that of the clouds, in case you're wondering. And I think I should probably do another one. The last one. This will at least recover some of the 254s to some extent. And in a way it does provide some randomness. But hey, it's kind of hard to see where that seam is. You can kind of see that, but it's just so barely even there. However, since that's now done, I just scale the layer to what a original size is, and from there, that's it. And I have a habit of doing that. And Z, because I forgot to center. Of course, that's really no big deal, but that's otherwise it for this particular thing. So now I need to duplicate this, call it main. Why am I calling it main now? Well, for one, I need to save this. Oh yeah, that's the third one of the gradients. There's 3 of them, not 2, and this happens to be it. And I'll show you that in just a little bit, or the reasoning for that. However, there's one thing. I'm adding a grass texture on top of the sand texture. Now if this is alpha, white is 255, which means it's fully there, that would mean the area where the ocean is all grass, and the area where all the sand is just sand. Something is strange. However, there's actually a reason for that, and that depends on my system I use. And the fix is real easy. Value invert. That's all I gotta do. Come on, you stupid mouse. Hate it when it suddenly jerks like that. I don't know what's going on here, but it's weird. So, what do I do now? Okay, I need to import my grass texture. I had to delete that out of the video because I had to go dig through classified contents. So you'd think I'd use solid, which is basically your untextured version. It's all one color. That's why I call it solid. However, there's one thing to note about that though. At a scaling of 24, grass has a considerable texture. Solid will not work in this case. I need the texture. And thus, I need this big image. And when I mean big, I do mean big. First thing I need to do is resize this so that it's actually based on the original size of the texture itself. And yes, it's 480 rather than 4096. Why I have that like that, I have no idea, but that's how I originally had it. Let's see, I don't have calculator for day 3, so I need to get that up. What's with the calculator? Well, I need to figure out how much I need to scale this by. So to do that, 2048 divide 3, that's how many coordinate units there are in one scaling unit. There's 32 pixels per scaling unit, so I divide that by 32. And that's how many coordinate units there are in every pixel on the image. So that means, and since this is based on a scaling of 1, and I need it based on 21 and a third, which is basically 64 thirds, what I need to do is 4096 divide 64 times 3. So that's actually the size I need to use for the base. However, the 4080 I see is going to cause a problem. 4080 divide 64 times 3. There's a fraction. I need to round it to the nearest preceding multiple of 3, and that happens to be 189. In this case, times 64 divided 3, and what do you know, it actually works out. I know how to figure out multiples of 3 pretty much at an instant. So, there's that. Now all I need to do is just set this to 192, and there you have it. And an annoyance with the GIMP is that it's way out of the park, in a sense. It's been knocked out of the ballpark. Get it? It should be centered based on what the image window has. Or centered in... well, you get the idea. But that's what I need. I need to get this full screen size. Or at least as big as I can get it anyway. I gotta love the 1920 by 1440 my CRT monitor gets. That is so nice. Oh yeah, one other thing I need to do is I need to set the image size to the original size. Okay, which means this is now going to be offset. This needs to be reset to the original size. Now all I need to do basically is just duplicate this. I'll just call that grass. And just in case I get the infinite loop, you know, save it. Because GIMP has been known to do that. And I'm just about to encounter a case where the 2.2 version of GIMP is so much more effective as far as speed goes. Notice the duplicating and stuff. So what's that instance where a 2.4 is better? This is why. A little bit over the edge and it scrolls pretty fast. That's all I need. Because with 2.4, boy, you really have to go off the edge to get that fast. And it's really annoying. And the more I have to go, you know, because I can just go super fast like that, and hey, I can fine tune it real easy. So yeah, 2.4 and later of GIMP hurts my productive progress. See, just look how fast I move that 3072. And of course that's a glitch with my mouse. Just release the button and for some reason the mouse cursor moves again. I don't know what's going on there, but it's weird nonetheless. So, what I need to do now is I need to temporarily process this. Layer, transparency, color to alpha. In this case, yes. Layer, transparency, alpha to selection. Hue I don't need anymore. Clear. And that's pretty much it. Shoreline darkener, the beaches, and all this other stuff in here. And that's basically what I have for the grass. You got 50 feet of beach. And where those areas where you got extra beach, there's even more. Over here, there's an area where it's actually pretty intense. There's an even bigger area here, and it's about here or so. So I had about a 16 by 21. And if you know the area formula for that, 16 squared add 21 squared. You know your distance formula. Raised to the half to get the square root. And that's your actual distance. Remember to multiply it by 64 thirds. And that's what it is in coordinate units. To convert that to feet, divide 75 times 11. And there you have it. So I got 82.6 feet of beach right in that one spot. For that in meters, times .3048. And it's 25.2 meters. So, it's a fair amount of beach. So, the next thing I otherwise have available left to do anyway is to duplicate this. Let's see where I need. This one's going to be beach details. This is going to be for the beach towels, beach umbrellas, and other such objects like those. And for that, it's just nothing more than some randomization. That's all there really is to it. Zoom in some. Isn't that a nice gradient? That is so nice. I also like this turquoise to blue fade here too. That is very pretty. So let's see. This is the area where... This is actually one thing I don't understand and as the cause of. Why does sand near water become dark when sand far from water is not dark? It's one thing I've never really understood. So these are going to be some beach towels. And just kind of put some areas in here. That would be like a beach umbrella. Just follow the shore. That's all I need to do, really. Of course, I kind of randomize it and intensify it a little bit more where these sandy beaches are. And probably where some islands are too, because there could be some use in those. Of course, I'll use other colors too, but for now I should probably just get the basic design. And speaking of which, I should probably use black for that, but that's no big deal. But at least you get the idea on the system behind it. Pretty nice looking already, huh? Yep, I still got roads and house shadows and other details left, but details are the last thing I need to do as far as the artwork goes. So I'm actually getting pretty close to finished.